Well, hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining us today. We are continuing with our History of South Africa series, and this is part 3, the South African Republic. The South African Republic, in Dutch called the Zuid-Afrikaanse Republiek or ZAR, is not to be confused with the much later Republic of South Africa. It is often referred to as the Transvaal and sometimes as the Republic of Transvaal. It was an independent and internationally recognized nation-state in southern Africa from 1852 to 1902. Independent sovereignty of the Republic was formally recognized by Great Britain with the signing of the Sand River Convention on the 17th of January 1852. The Republic, under the premiership of Paul Kruger, defeated British forces in the First Boer War and remained independent until the end of the Second Boer War on the 31st of May 1902, when it was forced to surrender to the British. The territory of the South African Republic became known after this war as the Transvaal Colony, the Free State Republic. The independent Boer Republic of Orange Free State evolved from colonial Britain's Orange River sovereignty, enforced by the presence of British troops, which lasted from 1848 to 1854 in the territory between the Orange River and Vaal Rivers, named Transoranje. Britain, due to the military burden imposed on it by the Crimean War in Europe, then withdrew its troops from their territory in 1854, when the territory, along with other areas in the region, was claimed by the Boers as an independent Boer Republic, which they named the Oranje Free State or Orange Free State. In March 1858, after land disputes, cattle rustling, and a series of raids and counter-raids, the Orange Free State declared war on the Basotho Kingdom, which it failed to defeat. A succession of wars was conducted between the Boers and the Basotho for the next 10 years. The name Orange Free State was again changed to the Orange River Colony, created by Britain after the latter occupied it in 1900 and then annexed it in 1902 during the Second Boer War. The colony, with an estimated population of less than 400,000 in 1904, ceased to exist in 1910 when it was absorbed into the Union of South Africa as the Orange Free State Province. Natalia. Natalia was a short-lived Boer republic established in 1839 by Boer voortrekkers emigrating from the Cape Colony. In 1824, a party of 25 men under British Lieutenant F.G. Farewell arrived in the Cape Colony and established a settlement on the northern shore of the Bay of Natal, which would later become the Port of Durban, so named after Benjamin de Urban, a governor of the Cape Colony. Boer voortrekkers in 1838 established the Republic of Natalia in the surrounding region, with its capital at Pietermaritzburg. On the night of the 23rd-24th of May 1842, British colonial forces attacked the voortrekker camp at Congela. The attack failed, with British forces then retreating back to Durban, which the Boers besieged. A local trader, Dick King, and his servant Ndongeni, who later became folk heroes, were able to escape the blockade and ride to Grahamstown, a distance of 600 kilometers or 372.82 miles, in 14 days to raise British reinforcements. The reinforcements arrived in Durban 20 days later. The siege was broken and the voortrekkers retreated. The Boers accepted British annexation in 1844. Many of the Natalia Boers who refused to acknowledge the British rule trekked over the Drakensberg Mountains to settle in the Orange Free State and Transvaal republics. The Cape Colony. Between 1847 and 1854, Harry Smith, the Governor and High Commissioner of the Cape Colony, annexed territories far to the north of the original British and Dutch settlement. Smith's expansion of the Cape Colony resulted in conflict with disaffected Boers in the Orange River sovereignty, who in 1848 mounted an abortive rebellion at Boomplaats, where the Boers were defeated by a detachment of the Cape Mounted Rifles. Annexation also precipitated a war between British colonial forces and the indigenous Xhosa nation in 1850 in the eastern coastal region. Starting in the mid-1800s, the Cape of Good Hope, which was then the largest state in southern Africa, began moving towards greater independence from Britain. In 1854, it was granted its first locally elective legislature, the Cape Parliament. Initially, a period of strong economic growth and social development ensued. However, an ill-informed British attempt to force the states of southern Africa into a British federation led to inter-ethnic tensions and the First Boer War. Meanwhile, the discovery of diamonds at Kimberley and gold in the Transvaal led to a later return to the instability, particularly because they fueled the rise of power of the ambitious colonialist Cecil Rhodes. As Cape Prime Minister, Rhodes curtailed the multiracial franchise, and his expansionist policies set the stage for the Second Boer War. Griqua People. By the late 1700s, the Cape Colony population had grown to include a large number of mixed-race so-called coloureds, who were the offspring of extensive interracial relations between male Dutch settlers, Khoi females, and female slaves imported by Dutch colonies in the east. Members of this mixed-race community formed the core of what was to become the Griqua people. Under the leadership and of a former slave named Adam Cock, these coloureds or basters, meaning mixed race or multiracial, as they were named by the Dutch, a word derived from baster, meaning bastard, started trekking northward into the interior through what is today named the Northern Cape Province. The trek of the Griquas to escape the influence of the Cape Colony has been described as one of the great epics of the 19th century. They were joined on their long journey by a number of San and Khoi aboriginals, local African tribesmen, and also some white renegades. Around 1800, they started crossing the northern frontier formed by the Orange River, arriving ultimately in an uninhabited area which they named Griqualand. In 1825, a faction of the Griqua people was introduced by Dr. John Phillip, a superintendent of the London Missionary Society in southern Africa, to relocate to a place called Philippolis, a mission station for the San, several hundred miles southeast of Griqualand. Philip's intention was for the Griquas to protect the missionary station there against banditry in the region, and as a bulwark against the northward movement of white settlers from the Cape Colony. Friction between the Griquas and the settlers over land rights resulted in British troops being sent to the region in 1845. It marked the beginning of 9 years of British intervention in the affairs of the region, which was named Trans-Orange. Although no formally surveyed boundaries exist, Griqua leader Nicolaas Waterboer claimed the diamond fields were situated on land belonging to the Griquas. The Boer republics of Transvaal and the Orange Free State also vied for ownership of the land, but Britain, being the preeminent force in the region, won control over the disputed territory. In 1878, Waterboer led an unsuccessful rebellion against the colonial authorities, for which he was arrested and briefly exiled. I'm going to hand it over there. Thank you very much for watching. If you have made it this far, I would hope you would give us a like, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell notification so that you can be notified as soon as a new video comes up. There's still quite a bit more to cover in the history, so I'll see you next time, and thank you for watching.